You know how you know the Indiana Fever had a good offseason? When even Sheryl Swoopes praises it. We've got a Sheryl Swoopes switch up.
Sheryl Swoopes just did a full 180 on Caitlin Clark, and it happened live on television. After spending an entire year insisting that Clark was overrated, overhyped, and wouldn't make it in the WNBA, Swoopes is now applauding the Indiana Fever star and her team.
You get on the bandwagon or you get left behind. Being a hater of Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever in Clark's rookie season, even insinuating that players would flee the team because of the attention around the team.
The basketball world is in shock. Nancy Lieberman ended her friendship with Swoopes over these attacks, and Cheryl Miller even called her a big dummy on a podcast. Yet now, as if none of it ever happened, Swoopes is acting like Clark's biggest fan. The receipts don't lie, and I've got them all right here. Are you ready to break it all down and hear what Swoopes said? Let's go.
To all of our surprises, was somebody who's done nothing since 2023 but speak idiotically and speak like a delusional human being. The liar of them all. The king lie. The biggest projectionist of them all. I'm just going to make up things.
Remember when Sheryl Swoopes claimed Caitlin Clark was a 25-year-old playing against teenagers? That wasn't just a casual slip-up. It marked the beginning of what would become a year-long campaign of misinformation. Let's pull out the receipts on Swoopes' bizarre vendetta against women's basketball's brightest star.
Let's also talk about how much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old.
The timeline of Swoopes' attacks is both consistent and consistently wrong. During Clark's record-breaking college career, Swoopes launched her first major salvo by questioning the legitimacy of Clark's NCAA scoring achievement on Gil's Arena. She boldly declared that if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, Caitlin should have broken that record in 4 years as well.
Ask me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
Right? So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record?
This statement ignored a basic fact. Clark did break the record in 4 years, exactly the same time frame as Plum. Swoopes insinuated that Clark had unfairly benefited from COVID-19 rules, which allowed a 5th year, a year Clark never actually took. What makes these comments so problematic isn't just their inaccuracy, it's the absolute certainty with which Swoopes delivered them. She spoke with the confidence of someone stating the sky is blue, not someone spreading falsehoods that could be fact-checked with a simple Google search. When confronted with corrections, rather than acknowledging her mistakes, Swoopes dug her heels in deeper.
Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Here we go.
I know you like that.
Hell yeah.
I said that because when she comes to the league, regardless of what team she goes to that has vets on that team, she probably ain't gonna get 40 shots a game.
The attacks evolved as Clark's career progressed. When Clark prepared to enter the WNBA, Swoopes confidently predicted doom. Will Caitlin Clark be a good pro? Absolutely. Will Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now? Immediately? Absolutely not. Not gonna happen. Well, guess what did happen? Clark dominated her rookie season, leading the entire league in assists, breaking 62 records and claiming Rookie of the Year honors.
Say she wouldn't be good. What I said was I didn't think Caitlin or Angel would come into the league and dominate immediately, which I don't think either of them did.
Respectfully, there is absolutely no way, even when we're trying to sit here and play semantics about dominating, there's no way that anyone could ever leave this season in saying that both Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese didn't dominate. You would have to further explain what dominance means for you to not sit here and say that a player who is leading the league in assists while averaging 19 to 20 points didn't dominate that season.
Even as Clark proved her wrong on the court, Swoopes shifted her criticisms to the rest of the team and the culture. According to her, the circus created by the Caitlin Clark fandom had allegedly created a toxic environment in the locker room.
People in the fever were like, y'all.
That's not my point. There's a lot of other shit going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some
So
new shit
like
going
it's
on
a lot.
around there.
It's a lot. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
By comparing Clark's actual age, 22 at that time, actual statistics, and actual achievements against Swoopes' fabricated narrative, a clear pattern emerges. This wasn't a respected analyst offering fair criticism. This was a calculated campaign to diminish one of women's basketball's biggest stars at every turn. The basketball world took notice. Nancy Lieberman, Stephen A. Smith, and ultimately Cheryl Miller stepped forward to challenge Swoopes' assertions. These weren't just random commentators. These were respected voices in basketball standing up to say, enough is enough.
What do, peeps? Sheryl Swoopes is been missing. Sheryl Swoopes is MIA. They got a APB out for Sheryl Swoopes. If you see Sheryl Swoopes, she did a lot of talking a few months ago about the Indiana Fever, the locker room environment, how people didn't want to play there, how people wanted to leave.
What makes a Hall of Famer like Nancy Lieberman and a 30-year-long friendship so significant? As Swoopes continued her campaign against Clark, the basketball community's patience wasn't just wearing thin, it was completely shattered.
Sheryl, since she was in college, I helped do her shoe deal with Nike in 1993, took her to her first SBs. I've known Sheryl, I've coached her, have a lot of respect for her. I called her when Caitlin was still playing at Iowa and she had just broken Maravich's record. And it was all over the place, as you and I have discussed, that, there was this quote by Sheryl that said, Caitlin was, 25 years old. She was, however old, 24 years old. She was a fifth-year senior. Right. She was taking 40 shots a game. Her records were illegitimate.
The breaking point came when Lieberman, one of the most respected voices in women's basketball, attempted to have a private conversation with her longtime friend, Swoopes. I called her as a friend, Lieberman revealed, and I said you can say whatever you want, but you do have to get the statistics right. Facts matter. This wasn't just a casual disagreement between colleagues. This was Lieberman trying to salvage both the truth and a friendship.
I got off the treadmill and I called her as a friend and I said, you can say whatever you want. You can have your own opinion about anybody, but you do have to get the statistics right. I mean, facts matter. And if you just get ahead of this and just say, hey, I made a mistake on my numbers, then this thing is over and everybody respects you for your opinion. And, you might like Boston. I might like the Yankees. It's okay to have difference of opinions. Well, she got upset with me on the phone. And I was like, Sheryl, I'm not doing anything to hurt you. I'm just sharing. We're talking. And so our relationship it pretty much is not happening at this point. I tried to talk to her at the Final Four. Right. She didn't want to talk to me. My life's going to be good or great with or without Sheryl Swoopes in my life. I'd rather have her in it.
Swoopes didn't take the criticism well. The relationship between these two basketball legends, according to Lieberman, is now pretty much done. They haven't spoken since that conversation, marking an extraordinary moment when defending Clark's achievements literally cost Lieberman a longtime friendship in basketball circles.
There seems to be some haterade in the league in regards to Clark, starting with WNBA legend Sheryl Swoopes herself.
The situation became so notable that Lieberman discussed this personal fallout on the Stephen A. Smith show, where Smith provided a platform for challenging Swoopes' assertions. This wasn't just media drama, it represented something unprecedented in basketball culture. respected figures actively using their platforms to counter what they saw as an unfair campaign against a rising star.
You know basketball. You know basketball. You know basketball. You know basketball better than me. You know basketball than any of the pundits. You know basketball better than most of the men that play basketball. There is no way in hell you just accidentally left Caitlin Clark's name out of that soliloquy that you dropped about the Indiana Fever. Stop it.
But the most jaw-dropping moment came from Cheryl Miller. The basketball icon didn't just disagree with Swoopes, she demolished her credibility on the wildly popular All the Smoke podcast. "I was like, come on, you big dummies," Miller declared, with the kind of bluntness that only someone of her stature could get away with on a major platform.
Some of your peers, they will recognize, her game, but they won't recognize her impact.
Right.
How can you separate the two? It's kind of
hard,
right?
And I used, and Jax, you're absolutely right. And I was like, come on, you big dummies.
What made Miller's takedown particularly devastating wasn't just her legendary status. It was her first-hand experience, having coached Clark in the 2024 WNBA All-Star Game. Miller brought authentic insights rather than speculation. She praised Clark's exceptional court vision, noting, "The one thing that I don't think people really appreciate about that young lady's game is she can pass." Miller described Clark as seeing the game in 3D, offering a sophisticated basketball analysis that directly contradicted Swoopes' simplistic dismissals. This wasn't just another talking head weighing in. This was Cheryl Miller, a basketball icon, using her credibility to defend Clark's legitimacy while simultaneously exposing the hollow nature of Swoopes' criticisms.
I mean, look, as much as she was given, you can't tell me if that door would have swung the other way where she didn't live up to the hype.
Right.
Come on, folks are still waiting for her to fall.
Exactly.
Come on.
Yep.
So, with that being said, you big dummies, you getting paid now.
What's remarkable isn't just that these basketball luminaries stepped up to defend Clark. It's that they risked professional relationships and put their own reputations on the line to do so. Such actions don't happen over trivial disagreements. They happen when respected figures recognize that something fundamentally unfair is occurring and feel compelled to speak out. Yet, despite this unprecedented pushback from some of basketball's most respected voices, Swoopes refused to acknowledge her mistakes or offer any apology to Clark. The criticisms from legends seem to only entrench her position further, suggesting that her campaign against Clark had moved beyond basketball analysis into something more personal.
Her past, and I didn't know how talented she was and how well she sees the game in a 3D version, thinker, defensively a lot better than I thought and gave her credit for. So watching her and just spending a little time, and one thing, guys, that I've learned is to step back and let these kids be themselves.
In a twist that left basketball fans checking their calendars, Sheryl Swoopes has suddenly transformed from Clark's harshest critic to her newest cheerleader. After months of entrenched opposition and doubling down against mounting evidence, Swoopes performed the most stunning reversal in sports commentary history, and the timing couldn't be more suspicious.
And this is the most unabashed praise I've ever seen from Swoopes go Clark and the Fever's way.
During a recent interview that has since gone viral, Swoopes, who spent an entire year dismissing Clark's abilities, abruptly changed her tune. She praised the Indiana Fever as legitimate championship contenders for the upcoming season. The EI's same team she had previously insisted would struggle despite Clark's presence. With surprising enthusiasm, Swoopes highlighted Clark getting stronger and praised the Fever's off-season acquisitions, acting as though she'd been a believer all along.
The team that I feel made the biggest moves, maybe even the best moves, that would be the Indiana Fever. I think the Indiana Fever went from just being in the playoffs last season to potentially winning a championship.
What makes this 180-degree turn so jarring is its convenient timing. Swoopes waited until after Clark had conclusively proven her wrong by earning All-Star, All-WNBA, and Rookie of the Year honors. Only after Clark had silenced critics with her on-court performance did Swoopes suddenly decide the Fever might be worth her respect. The calculated nature of this reversal hasn't gone unnoticed by fans, who've been quick to call out what appears to be opportunistic bandwagoning.
You add the OG DeWanna Bonner, who plays both ends of the floor, who's a competitor, Natasha Howard, who's another OG, who's going to bring the defensive presence. And then you're bringing back Aaliyah Boston, who continues to get better every single year. Can we talk about Kelsey Mitchell, who is just a walking bucket?
Social media exploded with reactions ranging from disbelief to outright mockery. "She admits defeat," wrote one fan on X, while another dubbed it the switch-up of the century. The overwhelming skepticism speaks to how deeply Swoopes' previous criticisms had alienated basketball followers, creating a level of distrust her sudden praise can't easily overcome.
Stronger Caitlin got in the offseason. You know she was in the gym working on her game. This Indiana Fever team, they have put the pieces together in this offseason, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do.
Perhaps most telling is what Swoopes didn't say. Throughout her praise for Clark and the Fever, she carefully avoided acknowledging any of her previous statements or offering even the slightest apology. She spoke as if the past year of attacks never happened, making her newfound support feel hollow and strategically motivated rather than genuine. What caused such a dramatic shift? Several possibilities come to mind. Network executives may have applied pressure, recognizing that continued criticism of the WNBA's biggest star was becoming increasingly untenable. Perhaps Swoopes finally recognized she was on the wrong side of basketball history as Clark's popularity and success continued to soar. Or maybe external pressures, like maintaining relevance in the media landscape, forced her hand.
Disrespecting those that came before. That was one of the base root premise of the backlash, was that the Clark fans came in and only cared about Clark and not anybody else, and now everybody else has joined up with Clark.
The most likely explanation combines all these factors. As Clark's undeniable success mounted and basketball legends publicly condemned Swoopes' stance, continuing the anti-Clark campaign became professionally risky. Her about-face feels less like a genuine appreciation for Clark's talent and more like a calculated attempt to salvage her credibility after being proven wrong repeatedly.
At the end of the day, let's call a spade a spade. The way Kelly and Amber overhauled this roster, out with Nalissa Smith, in with Natasha Howard, out with Katie Lou, in with DeWanna Bonner, Lexi Hull to the bench, Sophie Cunningham on the bench, bringing in Sydney Colson, Brianna. I mean, to say that this team isn't championship bound, to say that this team isn't a legit finals contender, you have to be the biggest idiot or the biggest delusional human being walking the face of the earth today.
While Swoopes scrambles to salvage her reputation, a legitimate championship contender has quietly assembled in Indianapolis. Is it possible that, after a year of getting everything wrong about Clark, Swoopes finally got something right about the Fever's potential, even if it was for all the wrong reasons? Look at what the Fever have actually built this offseason. DeWanna Bonner brings immediate offensive firepower to the roster, averaging 15 points and 6 rebounds per game for Connecticut last season at age 36. This isn't just a signing for leadership. It's adding a 6-time All-Star and 2-time champion who's still producing at an elite level.
Went from the locker room is in shambles, players want to leave, it's a toxic environment, nobody wants to be there, the fans are terrible, to, I don't know, I wasn't even in the locker room, to the OGs that they brought in, the OGs that said, I want to come play over there.
Then there's Natasha Howard, a former Defensive Player of the Year with 3 championship rings on her resume. Her acquisition directly addresses what held the Fever back defensively last season. The front office has essentially fast-tracked They're rebuild by pairing these veterans with their young stars. Next, we have battle-tested veterans Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, and Brianna Turner, all filling key needs on the roster. They can bring the added spark off the bench through their shooting, defense, and leadership.
The DeWanna Bonners of the world, the Natasha Howards of the world, the Sophie Cunninghams of the world, the Brianna Turners of the world, the Sydney Colsons of the world. They said, oh, Sheryl Swoopes is just Josh. Oh, there's no turmoil going on in that locker room. There was one player who would shout out Nalissa Smith.
What makes this particularly exciting for Fever fans is how these moves specifically complement Caitlin Clark's and Aaliyah Boston's development. Boston showed tremendous promise in her first 2 years, but now she'll have championship caliber veterans to accelerate her growth. Swoopes herself highlighted Boston's continued improvement, suggesting the Fever frontcourt has transformed into something much more formidable overnight. Clark's off-season development shouldn't be overlooked, either. Even Swoopes had to acknowledge how much stronger Caitlin got in the off-season. "You know she was in the gym working on her game," Swoopes said after Clark led the league in assists as a rookie and broke 62 records while adjusting to the professional level. Imagine what Clark might accomplish with added strength and a year of experience under her belt.
Not only did she give Clark credit for working on her game and getting stronger, so there was a single out of Clark that wasn't, masked in any sort of shade. Let's be real. Sheryl went out of her way at times to, knock down or discredit or insinuate the worst.
The timing couldn't be better for the Fever as the Liberty enter potential dynasty territory. Indiana has positioned themselves as the perfect challenger, young enough to sustain excellence for years, but now experienced enough to compete immediately. The combination of Clark's generational passing ability, Boston's interior presence, Kelsey Mitchell's scoring, Lexi Hull's hustle, and the championship pedigree of their new veterans creates a formula we've seen work before in WNBA: title runs. What's particularly impressive is how rapidly this transformation has occurred. Most rebuilds take years of careful development, but the Fever have essentially compressed that timeline through strategic veteran acquisitions that address specific needs without sacrificing their young core's development opportunities.
It's just funny how we get to where I can't help but to find all of this amusing, and I'm glad that people found this amusing as well. Now she's on the Fever bandwagon. Phony people that hop on the bandwagon I'll never trust. This one right here rings very true in my mind. She's just overhyping our additions to hedge her bets. That was if we do end up winning, she can downplay Caitlin's impact as much as possible.
What we've just witnessed from Swoopes is nothing short of remarkable. After a year of baseless attacks, she's finally acknowledging what's been obvious to everyone watching. The Clark effect is real. Her admission that Clark has brought more eyes and more marketing to the league confirms what fans knew all along. But let's not mistake this for genuine respect. Swoopes didn't apologize for her false narratives. She simply couldn't deny reality anymore. The true story here isn't about who was right or wrong in these debates. It's about the unprecedented growth of women's basketball. Fans are the real winners as they witness the Fever's transformation and Clark's impact on a league that's finally getting the attention it deserves.